What's up, adventurers? My name is Platinum Phoenix, and welcome back to Fossil Fighters Champions. Last time, we took on the third leg of the Calisteo Super Cup over in Ilium Island. And this time, we have a few more people to go find that you wouldn't really think of off the top of your head, which is actually why we are standing in front of the museum. Because our first character we need to find is actually Professor Scuttly here. Excellent timing, old bean. I was just hoping we might share a spot of tea. I'm investigating some ruins, see? And I need to pick your brain about your battle with Zanga, chap. Sure. Exquisitor! Or Excelsior! All meant no detail, no matter how minor or Salacis? Alright, getting into this fight with Professor Scuttly, I both like and dislike these fights. And yes, it is fights since Professor Scuttly, being the historian that he is, wants to hear about your entirety of your fight with Zanga, meaning both the first and the actual fight with Zanga. Which is actually both why I like and dislike these fights. It's cool because Professor Scuttly isn't a fighter and has no Vivisaurs, meaning for him to quote-unquote fight, they needed a workaround in the game. And like I just said, he's a historian and a scientist, so it makes a lot of sense for him to want to hear about your fight and the retelling of Zanga, and to just make that his battle instead of just giving him a random team of Vivisaurs that makes no sense. But that's also my biggest problem with the fight, is that it's the exact same fight as your first time fighting Zanga. It's the exact same levels. They're ranked 12 and 13 all the way up to 16, which is Zanga. And it's not really interesting, and it takes too long to really get through the fight since they're weak Vivisaurs, but just strong enough to take some hits. It's just not a good balance. And I think it would have worked really well if Professor Scuttly was only interested in Zanga, since the whole game was Professor Scuttly traveling around the different islands and finding these tablets or slablets that were specifically talking about Zanga and his rule, and not about the zombie source. I think it would have made it a lot more interesting if it was just the final clash with Zanga that Professor Scuttly was interested in hearing, and it wasn't the weaker and just time-consuming fight before Zanga as well as the Zanga fight. Great heavens! Your tale was so fascinating, I forgot to take note. Yes, well, perhaps you'll recount it to me again sometime. What? Alright, I don't think we will, but I'll keep that in mind, Professor Scuttly. But our next location that we are heading to is actually the Bonehemoth. And that is because all the way back here where Lord Tonzilla is, there's just a couple of people back here. But there's also Robinson. Hey, Robinson. Well, pat my back and call me chum. Looks like somebody wants to have a little battle. Sure, we'll fight. I've had 10 long years to train myself, so you best not drop your guard. Alright, starting off this fight with Robinson. We are outsped by a lot. And the first thing I actually want to bring up in this fight is it's kind of weird that Robinson isn't using Lord Tonzilla, right? Like, when I played this as a kid, I was very confused why he has this random Dunkel instead of Lord Tonzilla himself, because it makes so much sense. We're right next to him. It would make so much more sense for him to use Lord Tonzilla in this fight than a random Dunkel. But I think what I want to do in this first round, or this first turn, is I want to try to take out that Colan, which is actually the only Vivisaur he uses between this fight and his fight in the Calisteo Super Cup. But the reason I want to take out the Colanth is because it's the only one of his Vivisaurs that has support effects that lowers my attack and accuracy. which are the two biggest things that Obsidian does not want to have lowered. So we're just gonna punch and see how much this does. 351 is not bad. Does this? How much LP do you have left? 27. Okay, so I want to try to take him out this turn. So we're gonna rotate to the front and Raptor kick it and hope that this takes it out. We're at effective range. Yes, perfect. That is probably the most perfect turn one that we could possibly have. So we are just going to end turn and see what he does with this Gondry and Dunkel. Because the Gondry doesn't really have anything. It has a scare skill, which it's using right now. But I don't think it's going to be too bad of a Vivisor to deal with. The Dunkel, I also believe, doesn't really have much of anything except for just plain power. But even so, with Obsidian, I don't think this is going to be a hard fight at all. We're basically just going to try to take out the Gondry this turn and then deal with the Dunkel next turn, because Obsidian, as soon as it hits the Dunkel should crumble. So that's 175. Obsidian just getting crit after crit is awesome. And I think what we're going to do is just end turn there, because I don't want to try to hit it with Rock when I don't think Rock is going to be able to do much damage to it anyway. I think it'll be... Actually, it rotating further forward is going to be more helpful to me. Okay, 84, 43, and 50. Still no scares from this guy. No scares from the Gondry. Just how I like it. And a miss. This has been going very well. I think what we're just going to do is inflame Obsidian. And then we have enough FD to use Lordly Buster, which I think should be enough to take out this Gondry. Because if I can take out the Gondry here, we no longer have to worry about its skill effect, meaning it is dead. We don't have to worry about Obsidian being scared when taking out this Dunkel. And just to make sure, Dunkel only has Super Harden, so we don't have to worry about skill effects anymore, which is very nice. All we have to worry about is support effects, but this Dunkel isn't really going to be doing much against Obsidian anyway. So, and it's missing all of its attacks anyway as well. So, yeah, I don't see a way that this Dunkel beats us. And we're just going to hit it as hard as we can right here. 376. Blink activates, giving us another 32. And how much does it have left? 52. Do we think a Raptor combo could take it out? That's the biggest question. We're going to Raptor combo. It has plus 30% attack. Can Rock take it out? Oh, yeah, perfect. Perfect critical hit time. I don't know if it matters, but I will take it. And for winning this fight against Robinson, we get 20 points. Perhaps I should have spent more time training and less time fishing. And for beating Robinson, we get the Tanzilla icon, as well as Lord Tanzilla himself. And don't ask me how we can use Lord Tanzilla, considering it is literally a whale's tonsil. But since we have it, we should talk about it. So, Lord Tanzilla is honestly kind of lackluster. It is a pretty decent attacking Vivisor that turns into a pure support Vivisor after the first turn. And the reason for that is because of its skill Inflame plus S, which allows it to have Super Inflame at the start of battle, actually giving it a pretty respectable attack stat for its first turn. But after that point, there's no way for it to give itself Super Inflame again, since Quiver, its Inflame counterpart, is only Inflame and not Super Inflame, so it's not as helpful. The other reason that it's not a great attacker after the first turn is because it only has one attacking skill in Dangle, which isn't even that powerful. So it's kind of hard to use as an attacker. But as a support, it's still pretty lackluster, honestly, because it only has okay support effects. And the biggest thing that it has going for it is it actually has Link, which allows it to sit in the support zone and buff your buff your other Vivisaurs. And then when your attack zone Vivisaurs attack, it will also attack because it has the best Link skill in the entire game at 99% activation rate, which is insane and basically means every time you're attacking with your attack zone Vivisaur, as long as you're only attacking one of your opponents, Link will go off. And it's pretty reliable in that case. All right, and now that we have gone over Lord Tanzilla, you might be asking yourself, why are we on Cranial Isle and why are we in the Fossil Guild? And it's actually because I want to talk to the info clerk once again. Because if we go all the way to the end of all of the side quests that we have done, we will see that back here, there is a single side quest, a challenger approaches. And if we ask him about it, we've got fighters all over the island itching for a crack at the Coliseum Cup champ. If you beat them all, it might be enough for Joe Wild West himself to challenge you. So, this has been the longest running side quest that we have been doing that I haven't mentioned that we have been doing. Because every single fight that we have done in the postgame, besides the Coliseum Super Cup, has aided in this side quest. That being all of your friends, being Todd, Pauline, Rupert, and Joni / Madam Pooch, the BB Brigade commanders, being Lola, Lester, and Cole, and then this episode when we fought Professor Scuddly and then Robinson. All of them have been part of this goal of getting this side quest done, but since there was like 9 or 10 different fights you have to do for this one side quest, I decided to split it up between episodes. But we are finally here at our final challenge of this side quest. So Joe, what do you have to say? Howdy, Part. Reckon maybe you want to have a duel with me? Yeah, Joe, let's go. Yeah, it's soon. All right, getting into this fight with Joe Wild West. Again, we are outfed by a lot. But this fight's actually pretty interesting because this is our first time fighting Joe when he's actually being himself. Because the only other time we have fought Joe Wild West is when he was acting as Don Boneyard and not as himself as Joe Wild West. So instead of him having Bonysaurs, like last time we fought him, he actually has his own Vivisaurs. And he actually has a pretty good team because he has 2 Super Evolvers as well as his signature Vivisaur of Terra, which is actually a pretty cool signature Vivisaur for him to have because it's the first Vivisaur we ever saw him with. This Terra is the same Terra that saved us when we were getting attacked by the Allosaurus at the very beginning of the game. So it's been a long time coming for us to actually fight this Terra. And I think at the end of this long side quest, kind of capstones it very well with this fight with this Terra. As well as he has a Heracles, because at the start of the challenge, or anytime you come to this island, they give you a Triceratops. So it makes sense that he would have a Heracles, since the island staff is required to give you a Triceratops whenever they are teaching you how to clean your fossil rocks at the start of the game. And then he also has Bolgon, which is Sintao's evolution. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's Bolgon. That's Sintao's evolution, which also, again, makes just a ton of sense since he's the one that gave us the choice of taking a Sintao. He never actually has any of the other starters' super evolutions, but I think it's really cool that he does use one that doesn't clash with the air-type Terra or the water-type Heracles, since he really thematically should also have both of them as well. And I just think it's a really good design for his overall team that he has here. And it just makes a ton of sense for the team that he has. The only downside is that it's a pretty weak team. Like, Bolgon has no LP, and his Terra really is weaker than the B Terra he used to have when we fought him as Don Boneyard. So it's kind of a downgrade overall in team composition of what he had as Don Boneyard. But that's really my only gripe, and I like this team a lot better than his Don Boneyard team, just because of the thematic relevance of why he has each of these Vivisaurs. But also 820 damage is a lot. Obsidian was taking no crap from that Bolgon. And I think we're just going to Raptor combo this Terra again and see if we can take it out, because we were pretty close to half when we hit it last time. And that, yeah, with this crit, it's definitely going down. And yeah, it's an easy fight, but I love this fight just because of what it is. And for taking Joe Wild West down, we get 30 points. Oh, wait, that was tougher. That was tougher than killing steaks in an outhouse. In fact, you did such a good job. I got a little prize for you. And for beating him, we get the Heroic Joe icon. I swear, Pard, my heart swells with pride when I see how good you are. But that being said, I'm still a fighter, and I still want to win. And we get a level up to level 19. One level left until max rank. I am so excited to get max rank. And for getting to level 19, we get FP recharge of 225 and FP max of 800. And now that we have beaten Joe Wild West and completed a challenger approaches, I think the only thing left to do is head over to Ribular Town and see the new icons that we unlocked. And back with Ike once again. We have the Lord Tanzilla, which is right here. Tanzilla icon, which is just part of the Vivisaur series. It fits in pretty well, but it also is kind of zoomed out more than I thought it would be. I would assume that it would want to capture space more, but it's still a pretty good icon. And then the other icons that we got are actually all the way back here to the Heroic Joe icon, which this one is so much cooler than his portrait. Like, this is just him standing there. This is a cool pose. I think it's a pretty cool reward for actually fighting every single person you can fight in the post game. But with those gone over, I think we're going to end this episode here. So I hope that everyone enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Next time, we're heading over to the BB Brigade base to take on the Champions Cup. But until then, happy adventuring.